The Politics podcast is brought to you, as always, by patreon.com/JURY. Support this show by heading on over there. Not only do you get this program, but you also get my One Mic show, Jury. 2 shows in a week. You only pay once. So why don't you go ahead and head on over there and check it out. It is a great way for you to support this fine program. That is patreon.com/JURY. And by The Contender, Game of Presidential Debate. Why don't you head on over there, pick up the card game that everybody is talking about. You can have real presidential debates using real presidential candidate quotes with you and your friends. Also, we got some fun new expansions coming out, including the Hamilton expansion coming out a little bit later this month. Why wait? Head on over, thecontender.us. But enough of talking about how we do the show. Enough of talking about why we do the show. Let's talk about doing the damn thing.
Politics, 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 politics.
Doing a show, politics time. Everybody, learn to rhyme. Politics. Hey, everybody, it's me, Justin Robert Young. We haven't done a show in 2 weeks. I'm very, very excited to be back here. Thank you to everybody who is watching live on twitch.tv/JustinRYoung and, of course, diamondclub.tv. Man, it is good to be back. It's good to be back in Oakland. I was on the road in Texas and Florida over the past 2 weeks, and now back home in the sweet, sweet, sweet hamlet of Oakland. So, did I miss anything? Anything happen? Man, I'll tell you what. There is a lot to chat about. We're going to get to as much of it as we can, up to and including. We have the Betsy DeVos. Is it DeVos or DeVos? DeVos or DeVos? This is the Vase-Vos conversation, right? Vase or Vaz? Vase? Vaz. Betsy DeVos? Foss? Like Fossey? I don't know. She got confirmed as the Secretary of Education. It's got people all hot and bothered about it. We're going to talk about the big dust up, a little few miles north of me in Berkeley, because Milo, I can't pronounce his last name, was going to talk there. Melissa McCarthy, Sean Spicer, and Elizabeth Warren getting silencio by Mitch McConnell. Where do we start? Oh, also we have a billion emails. Okay. So let's start with Betsy DeVos. DeVos. She appears to be somebody that a lot of people don't like. I'm gonna tell you right now that this is why I didn't want to do this show after the election. All right? Like, I didn't want to do the show after the election. There's 2 stories that are going to get me going about it, okay? Here's one. I got this theory, man. I got a theory. Let me know if I'm right or wrong. I got this theory that once we get out of the campaign where the news is very digestible, a lot happens, but it's in the scale of a news day, it's fairly digestible. Hillary Clinton went to city, said this thing. Donald Trump went to a city, said this thing. Scandal breaks. Oh, no, wait. Now the scandal trumps them talking. Pretty easy, right? Or at least it's understandable. Poll number came out. Is it good? Is it bad? This surrogate, this endorsement, there's just like, it's a fairly standard language. Apparently send this message to somebody else. Apparently Siri is jumping in on this conversation. I don't want to talk to you. So, once we get into governing, we begin to deal with a much larger, and might I add, far more boring beast. Senate confirmations. People being put into departments that I almost guarantee you 99% of the country has no idea what their job actually is. Do you know what the Secretary of Education does? Like literally, wakes up 9 o'clock, or I mean, I guess probably wake up earlier than 9 o'clock. Wake up 6 o'clock, grabs an Eggo, gets a real quick run-in, little schwitz, huh? Goes, gets in a pantsuit, goes to the Department of Education. Do you know what the number one job, what the first thing that happens? Like, because I don't. And I have no business in pretending that, pretending that I do. Signs a bunch of papers, right? Work. Reverend Funk. So the DeVos routine is indeed Rebecca Black's Friday. Which one should she take? So, like, I don't know. So I see a lot of people out here that are really fired up about this, that are jumping up and down, and they jump, right up her undercarriage because she mentioned something about how the grizzly bears are going to get the kids, and so you need to have a gun in the school. But, like, I don't know what the Secretary of Education does. There's a lot of people. One of the other podcasts that I do, if you only listen to this, is a wrestling podcast. And in the wrestling community, there's a little bit of a Sturm and Drang, some consternation, because a lot of wrestling fans are from major cities that are liberal, right? And now all of a sudden, the small business administrator is Linda McMahon. But I don't know what the fuck the small business administrator does. And to be honest, I don't know what with the Secretary of Education. And if you were to really press me, and I would ask you, if you are upset with this selection, give me a rundown of good and bad Department of Education secretaries over the last 10 years. Let's go 20, just so we can get a nice little mix of different administrations. Because not only can I not name them, I have no idea if they did a good or a bad job. I have no earthly idea whether or not they were actively trying to undermine the learnings of our kids, or if they were just Mary Poppins floating down from on high. Reverend Buck says, hell, let's just go the full 40 since it was a Reagan-era creation. So here's what I'm going to do. Oh, sorry, Jimmy Carter created the Department of Education. My apologies. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do my best to understand who Betsy DeVos is by reading her Wikipedia page. And I would encourage you all to do the same. I'm going to try to be more informed. So here we go. Betsy DeVos. Here we go. 11th United States Secretary of Education. Her background includes experience as a businesswoman, philanthropist, and noted campaign contributor. Member of the Republican Party and advocacy of school choice, school vouchers, charter schools, and ties to the Reformed Christian community. Oh, so this is what everybody's all cheesed off about, right? This is it. It's about gutting. This is the public school versus charter school thing, right? Like if that's the case, then it's like, all right, well, I mean, like, just Why don't we just say that? It's like, all right, some people like that, some people don't. So we're all going to say she's an idiot, right? Because she kind of botched her confirmation hearing. Carmican says, yeah, but demonization's a better argument for social media. Yeah, I guess no one's really gonna just like or retweet somebody saying like, hey, this is really a debate about charter schools, huh? In fact, let's see this. I'm just gonna tweet this out. We're gonna see how many likes and retweets it gets. I'm just gonna go to my Twitter, and I'm just gonna write this the following. You can follow me at Justin R. Young. Betsy DeVos. So this is a debate about charter schools, right? Question mark. We're going to see by the end of this episode what kind of social media traction I've earned myself. T2T2 says 4 retweets and 20 likes. Nobody like or retweet this. That is watching me right now. We are doing a social experiment. Here we go. Look at that. So now we put that into the world. Nobody like or retweet this. You can follow me if you've never followed me before, but please do not like or retweet that. We are trying to get an accurate look at how much is going on here. All right. So that's it. That's all I needed to read to. Because anything else is going to be just fluff. Here's the thing. People who are in favor of charter schools or school vouchers are in favor of it because they believe that between public money, school districts, and teachers' unions, you cannot fix broken public schools. Functioning public schools, nobody really has a problem with, right? Everybody's cool with them. Broken public schools, charter schools are that's what people who are in favor of. They love that shit, right? It's like Waiting for Superman was all about that, right? And then people who hate school vouchers and charter schools basically look at it as a death sentence for these broken public schools. That you are now pulling out any kind of money that you would ever need to fix these schools. And so you are, and you can also mix in a little, the salt guy, give me that Salt Bay, guy, a little seasoning of racial, leaving the poorest and blackest among us behind on top of that, right? And it's hard. It's just really, really hard to get around that because you can really see both sides of that street. On one hand, these kids, the parents that are for charter schools are like, man, these kids ain't going to be in school forever. I got to hit a window. And if that window means I want to take him out and do a better school, and I want to have my tax money go to that school, then that's awesome. Yeah, sweet, do that. And then you have teachers and teachers unions that are like, well, what the hell? You're taking away any chance we have to make these things better. You are effectively scrapping everything that we have worked hard to build. So it's like, yeah, I guess, I don't know. I just wish people would have said that earlier. It would have made this whole Betsy DeVos thing a lot more understandable to me. Yeah, I can see both sides of Bad Street, Atlanta, GA. Man, I was so excited to talk about Bad Street, Atlanta, GA if the Falcons had won the Super Bowl. That was a disappointing Super Bowl. All right. Let's get into this Milo thing. Milo and Otis is a film wherein a dog, 2 dogs, dog and a cat. Which is Milo and Otis? Here's a question I wanna ask. Which one's Milo and Otis? Milo and Otis. Uh, we can talk about Milo. I can't pronounce his last name up in Berkeley, and there was like a riot and stuff, and everybody got all fired up about it. 1986 film, The Adventures of Milo and Otis. Dog and a cat. Oh, is this the one where they killed a bunch of animals to do it? Milo and Otis. uh, yeah, a dog and a cat, and apparently, is this the one that was shot overseas, and they wound up like killing a bunch of these animals? Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I thought this was going to be more fun to talk about than Milo. I can't pronounce his last name in Berkeley, but apparently it's not. Okay, so here's the deal. I've realized what the future of this show is. I realize what we can brand this show is, okay? Because a lot of these basic bitch shows out here are taking a hard line in the sand. I'm conservative. Screw these libtards. In my hot little hand, I have a boring show in which we talk about the same things every day. Did you know, snurdly, that I have said the phrase drive-by media 1 billion times? Coming right back on the EIB network. You know, folks, 2F by T, like, boring. Bunch of conservatives yelling at liberals, yada, yada, yada. Then you got the liberals, shrill, yelling at conservatives. Can you believe that this Hitler monster is now in charge? Boring. I want to do both. Get a man who can do both. I want to take a hard line in the sand on either side. That's what I want to do. I want to do. Can you believe this Hitler monster is now in charge? That's what I want to do. So I'm just going to, sometimes it means I got to talk to the liberals. Sometimes it means I got to talk to the conservatives. I'm going to talk to the liberals right now. Here's the deal. If this is not clear enough, I want my liberal listeners to understand something. Milo, I can't pronounce his last name, is mining you. You are a rich mountain teeming with ore. He has a drill bit and an entire staff to mine liberal outrage. It's what he does. That's his job. If you want him to have a job, you will continue to react to him. If you would not like him to have a job, you will not react to him. So when he very predictably draws the attention and ire of people by writing basically all the headlines that people pass around when they're like, oh, look at Breitbart. Breitbart's such a terrible site. Those are all Milo articles. And they're literally just there to embolden his base and, more specifically, to piss off liberals. Because there's a lot of people out here on the right that are just playing to the base. And they never break out. And they can be cool, but they're Michael Savage, basically. You know, they're sub-Rush Limbaugh, people that are preaching to the choir, right? Milo has become transcendent, number one, because he is in and of itself to the orthodoxy of what we imagine to be the far right, the impossible girl. You know, openly gay dude who is about as fire-breathing conservative as it comes. And number two, because he pisses off liberals. Because he tries to find soft spots and then agitates and agitates and agitates. And he did it so well that he got a $250,000 book deal, which infuriated people. And I'm shocked that the publisher didn't come in and just double the check. Because it's literally what he does. He goes out on this tour. He ain't playing arenas. He ain't playing theaters. Hell, he ain't playing the War Memorial Coliseum. Milo comes to colleges. Why? Because that's where he's going to extract maximum outrage. He likes to go to predominantly liberal colleges. And he did that in Berkeley. People got upset. Protests turned violent. He left. Didn't even have to speak. Dude literally showed up. And instead of giving a speech for what I'm going to just assume was probably going to be like 300 people, right? If literally everybody that was there that either was indifferent or wasn't going to be disruptive, like that, if he literally just came out on stage, gave a talk, people that liked him cheered for him, he went away. It's not the lead story in the college newspaper. Okay? And I know, because I used to work for a college newspaper where Ann Coulter would come and speak. And she wasn't the number one story. It's a nice thing. A lot of people went. You know, it's more important stuff. You know, sports happens. You know, maybe there's an accident or something. You know, a feature that the paper's been working on for a while. It's not automatically A1 material. But instead, he got chased off. He did his job. He extracted liberal outrage. Police get called in. Now, all of a sudden, it's a second day story because we are, he now knowing how to extend the moment. He starts to get into a back and forth with the mayor of Berkeley because the mayor called him a white nationalist. Now, what I want you to do, because I can feel the energy here. I can feel it radiating through time back into this microphone. But Justin, he is a white nationalist. He's awful. He said these terrible things. He's said awful, horrifying things. You can't possibly agree with what he's... It's not the point. Not the point. The point is, if you want him to have a job, you will be bothered by him enough to spread his message. This isn't about passing along any kind of ideology. There's a rumor that's going around that YouTube doesn't care whether or not you get thumbs up or thumbs down on a video. They care that somebody pushed one of them. They're both the same. And if that's the case, then there's a lot of interaction for old Milo. I can't pronounce his last name. 300 people probably would have heard that speech. Instead, the next day, he gets a tweet from the president. A tweet from the president. From the White House. From the White House. He is singled out. His cause is singled out. The president, in what would be a hilarious overreach of power, says if Berkeley can't get their violence problem under control, he'll pull federal money. 300 people would have just, yay, Milo. That's what happened. Goes, gives a talk, that's it. Right? Instead, the president. Now it's in the pool report. Now all of a sudden, he's flying to Washington to take a press credential so he can sit amongst the press for a White House press briefing. Like, this is what he wants. So I've prepared a little ditty for you guys. Like most lessons in life, you can learn a lot from The Simpsons. Let's go ahead and take a listen to my advice. If you are a liberal listener and you hate Milo, I can't pronounce his last name, this is my advice to you.
Void in Tennessee. Just don't look, just don't look. Just don't look, just don't look. Just don't look, just don't look.
Whenever anybody puts up on Facebook something about, oh my God, I can't believe that Milo did, just send him that link. Just send him that link. Guarantee void in Tennessee. It's got Paul Anka's guarantee. Just don't look. Ninja Steve says, okay, be ignorant. That's fine. Hey, listen, if you take it in if you want. I'm talking to a very, 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 very specific element of our listenership here. Liberals who hate Milo and wish him to go away. If that is your aim, then the only thing that you should ever do, if you care about advancing your aim, the only thing you need to do is be sending all of your friends that about him. He's a provocateur. He is mining you. He is mining you. You are Sierra Leone to him. And he is pulling out diamonds every time you retweet something that is harmful or mean about him. That's literally his business. And friends, business is a booming. All right. Christian. It's Christian. What's up to the peeps? Melissa McCarthy, Sean Spicer. Sean Spicer has tried to kind of calm things down a little bit. Melissa McCarthy came out in just a great, really, really funny SNL sketch, lampooning him as somebody that was kind of very hyper-aggressive. It reminded me of a Will Ferrell character. Will Ferrell. A Chris Farley character, which I think, she even did, like, when they were doing the old characters on the SNL 50 thing, I think she did a Van Down by the River. I thought it was really funny. I thought it was good. Here's what I don't like. Let me just show you all this. This is a article from Politico. The headline, which I can't see here, but it's White House rattled by McCarthy impression of Sean Spicer. After the devastating Saturday Night Live caricature of Spicer that aired over the weekend, in which a belligerent Spicer was spoofed by a gum-chomping, super soaker-wielding Melissa McCarthy in drag, did not go over well internally at the White House, which looks matter. Oh, in which looks matter. At a White House in which looks matter. Here we go. More than being lampooned as a press secretary who makes up facts, it was Spicer's portrayal by a woman that was the most problematic in the president's eyes, according to the sources close to him. And the unflattering send-up by a female comedian was not considered helpful for Spicer's longevity in the grueling, high-profile job in which he has struggled to strike the right balance between representing an administration that considers the media the opposition party and developing a functional relationship with the press. I don't like this article because it seems too perfect. This is my This is. I mean, again, my long ago past life as a alleged journalist reacts to this because I tend to think that this is almost exactly what a certain audience that reads Politico would want to hear. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying I'm suspicious of it. Because did they like the portrayal? Probably not. Although my guess is that Sean Spicer has a better sense of humor about himself than we might think. But it just seems, I don't know what it is about it, man. It just seems like either, and I don't think that it's the journalist making anything up, right? I don't think it's the reporters or Politico making anything up. A lot of times this stuff becomes an echo chamber because you have sources that know they know what the reporter wants to hear, so they give them that stuff. So really, to make this article happen, you need one or two people that are like, yeah, I was there in the room when Trump watched it, or somebody was in the room when Trump watched it, and he said, he didn't think it was funny, thought it was too mean, and he didn't like the fact that Melissa McCarthy did it. So, I don't know. Does it mean that Sean Spicer is going to get fired, which is probably the biggest thing that could come out of this? I don't know. I have a hard time believing that. I have a hard time believing that the Melissa McCarthy parody is going to get Sean Spicer fired. But, hey, listen. Welcome to the wild world of politics, which I have been historically unable to judge. So you never know. You never know. One more thing, and then we will get into some of our emails and our South Korean update. Elizabeth Warren, I can't get excited. I'm sorry. I can't get worked up about it. Elizabeth Warren wants to read a Coretta Scott King letter. Mitch McConnell uses all of Robert's rules of order to silence her. It becomes a news story. Elizabeth Warren reads the full letter outside of the chamber on the internet and then goes on Rachel Maddow to talk about it. More people heard it than would have heard it either way. It's just, again, this is why I hate covering governing. Because this is what happens. Let's all get worked up about Robert's Rules of Order. And let's make the fact that Mitch McConnell didn't want her talking about this other stuff now it's about racism, and now it's about this, and now it's about that. It's like, or is it just about Robert's Rules of Order? Kind of feel like it's about Robert's Rules of Order. And about that there was not enough yays to nay the objection put forth from the floor by way of the president to say unto respected Senator Alabama, I hereby say to you, submit for the consideration of the chamber, Milo and Otis should heretofore be stricken because there is not enough ample evidence to prove that those dogs weren't killed. So there we go. I don't know. I just can't figure it out. Everyone knows the speech. Good. Everybody knows the speech. Coretta Scott King. Great speech. Now everybody knows it. I'm happy about that. Okay. Korean update. I don't think we have any theme song music here. I'll tell you what, fake news. It's not just here in America anymore. No. Fake news has made its way to Korea. The latest from the South Korean presidential scandal. If you are unaware, it is our new our new fascination with the president stepping down. There is now an open spot for a president, but blaming fake news, Ban Ki-moon has dropped his presidential bid in South Korea. Former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon said Wednesday that he would not run for president in South Korea. A surprise announcement after weeks of laying political groundwork and then watching his plans erode over what he dubbed fake news. So here we go. This is, he was going to run then. This was a thing, right? And then apparently he got back to Korea and is like, all right, you all ready for the ban? You know, there's been a lot of talk about bans lately, but I got the, bans will make you dance when it comes to Ban Ki-moon. Upon his return last month, Ban, a 72-year-old career bureaucrat, quickly found himself buffeted around South Korea's famously tumultuous political sphere. He was mocked on the internet for being out of touch with his home society after a decade in New York, and corruption allegations were leveled at members of his family, dimming his star power. Ban called the attacks part of a fake news campaign to discredit him and his family. Quote, "For the past 3 weeks, I have devoted everything I had, but my genuine patriotism and passion were damaged by rumors and fake news," Ban said Wednesday at a hastily arranged news conference. "I, my family, and the UN have been greatly hurt. I will give up my pure aspiration to achieve change in politics under my leadership and unify the country." Oh, man, I love the fake news. Fake news, baby. America's greatest export. Fake news. Also, he probably dropped out because some of that shit was true. Like, I don't even know what it was, but it's like when normally people are like, "Oh, these rumors. I'm not going to run for office because of these rumors." It's like, if the rumors weren't true, they wouldn't stick around now, would they? Now, would they? Man, this is going to be a long-ass episode because we still got a ton of emails to get to. Man, I'll tell you what, I kind of wonder if there's anything that we're forgetting. I mean, maybe the one thing that we could all agree on is that we could head on down, blow off some steam. It is a Wednesday. And get ourselves into a congressional job approval.
Get on the floor if you got that booty.
Dance, 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 dance. Economics, you gov. Taken from February 5th to February 7th with a 1,315 registered voter sample. It is a congressional approval or disapproval poll. Coming to the stage first with a paltry 16%. It is but swinging that thing in the only way it knows how. The leader in the clubhouse. It is 53% for congressional job approval. Disapprove.
Get on the floor if you got that booty.
That's a 37-point spread. By the way, it actually is rebounding for Congress. If that gives you any solace or not, previous polls had it as high as 57% disapproval. That was a Fox News poll taken in the middle of January. Now down to 37%. So maybe Congress. Good news. Good news for Congress. Let's get into our emails here. theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Again, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. M writes, I received some advice from my therapist yesterday regarding how to handle the current state of news in the world. I told her that I was overwhelmed and having anxiety attacks about things like the Muslim travel ban, Keystone Pipeline, and corruption of the Trump administration. She suggested that I keep a safe space for myself. Let's please ignore the negative connotation that's been assigned to that phrase. Not to isolate myself away from the news, but make sure that I care about myself first. From there, she suggested to easing back into the news, to educate myself, but be aware of the limits and my boundaries, and know that it causes me distress and not to overdo it. She said this will allow me to stay mentally healthy despite what has and will happen, but will still fight for what is right from an educated and informed position. That is wise words. Tiny Brian writes, thought you and your listeners might be intrigued by the story of Kentucky's freshman representative from Madison County, C. Wesley Morgan. Representative Morgan started his term in January, and his most notable accomplishments thus far are 6 bills designed to help his chain of Eastern Kentucky liquor stores and to add another to aid his impounded boat on Lake Cumberland. It's a man after my own heart. Matt in Cincinnati writes, can you please discuss the whole Kellyanne Conway thing from an industry perspective? After looking into this, what I don't understand is why there doesn't seem to be any response from her network. I have almost no opinion of her since I've never been a viewer of hers, but if I remember correctly, Brian Williams was fired because of the backlash of a false story he told that was harmful to both the brand of his nightly show and the network. To me, this seemed a bit harsh, but I'm just some Joe. Why wouldn't Kellyanne Conway be under similar pressure after nearly an entire election cycle of flack? That kind of heat can't be great for the credibility of a network. Thanks for your thoughts and keep up the good work. Well, let's be clear. Kellyanne Conway doesn't work for a network. Kellyanne Conway I don't think she was ever a paid political pundit. And she certainly wasn't one at the point that she got the job as at the head of Trump's campaign. So she's literally just there to push the narrative for her candidate. And when it was Ted Cruz, she pushed the Cruz narrative, right? That video's out there. You know, she's out there trashing Trump. Now that she is there in the White House, she's there to push the White House narrative. That's her gig. You know, sometimes that involves her talking about the Bowling Green massacre, which is hilarious. But I mean, she didn't answer to anybody but Trump. If she is ever doing anything that you're like, man, I wonder if somebody's pissed off about that. If that person ain't Trump, then she's doing her job. Mike wrote, simple question. Is Merrick Garland the Curtis Axel of SCOTUS nominations at this point? Both were announced, but neither got involved in the match. Given his age, will Gorshamania be running wild for decades to come? Yeah, he's young, right? I think it's kind of been remarkable at how uncontroversial the Gorsh nomination was and is. We're going to see if the Democrats can muster up a fight for it. But, Merrick Garland, the Curtis Axel. I like it. Doug writes, do you think the social media outrage toward Trump's immigration executive orders was a grassroots movement or ginned up from behind the scenes by organized left-leaning groups? Seems pretty odd that people would spontaneously choose airports to gather and protest. The Obama birthplace rumor started in 2008. Jesus, that's a turn. He could have released his long-form birth certificate at any time to crush the rumors, but he decided not to. He waited until 2011, giving many Republicans 3 years to ruin their credibility, railing against something false. By doing this, he weakened any Republican attack on real scandals since their credibility was destroyed. Could the Democrats be doing the same? Blowing everything out of proportion in the first week of his presidency might weaken their arguments when he does something stupid in the future. Okay, a lot of questions here. Do I think that the travel ban protests were legit? Yeah. I think, you just had a major protest 2 weeks prior, with the Women's March. This was kind of another, I think people were still in the mood to go out and do something like that. Obviously, the sneak element of the immigration travel ban executive order caught a lot of people off guard, fired them up. I do think that it was probably aided by, X amount of groups that were already organized to get there. I mean, that usually just makes things go faster, but I don't think that it was, George Soros hitting people up on PayPal to go stand in an airport. I can appreciate what you're saying here with the Obama birther rumor stuff, but I think it might be too clever by half. Because at the end of the day, it's like, didn't exactly destroy the credibility of the person who's now the president, right? Like, in many ways, sir, the big boy never left. That was how he got on the news, how he carved himself out a political spot for himself, Donald Trump did, and, seemed to pay off for him. We got a ton of stuff about the executive orders. Scale writes, here's the thing with executive orders. They ain't new, not by a country mile. Obama issued a total of 275 executive orders during his 2 terms. Roosevelt issued 3,522. The only president who didn't issue any was Harrison, and that's because he died 31 days into his term. Bottom line is, presidents issue executive orders. It's not new. Similarly, the "oh, damn, he's bypassing Congress, he's a fascist" rhetoric we're seeing now is not new either. In fact, it was the same stuff we saw when Obama issued his anti-free speech, look out, it's old Joseph Goebbels trying to control the interwebs executive order. I don't like Trump's evil Muslim ban executive order. I didn't like Obama's control the interwebs executive order, or the phone tapping stuff, or the drone strikes. But presidents are going to give executive orders. They're all pastries, and that's just how they jelly roll. Thank you so much, Scale. Kevin wrote, executive orders unfortunately cover a wide range of subjects. Some executive orders deal solely with executive issues or legislative issues, which Congress has unwisely delegated to the president. These executive orders are, at the very least, constitutional. Others, including those of Obama's I have a pen and a phone variety, are direct usurpations of Congress's sole authority to legislate, and they are wrong. So unfortunately, we do have to evaluate each executive order to determine whether it is okay or not. Chris Meacham writes, oh, wait, hold on. Those are my 2 executive orders. Oh, wait, no, here we go. Chris Meacham. Technically, I'm not on the winning or losing side as I voted Libertarian, but I live in Alabama. So, yeah, there's that. So I might be a little bit mistaken here, but executive orders were originally intended for settling the general interpretation of existing law so that they would be used to subordinate they would not be used to subordinate the president. These were not so much laws as directives for the various executive agencies. The executive order is also used in a way of enacting legislative actions that were so popular in Congress, so to be considered a mere formality to pass them, the most famous of which was the Emancipation Proclamation. Even a law with an overwhelming majority of backing in Congress could take over a year to implement, especially in the 1700s and 1800s. Executive orders allowed such laws to be implemented immediately while Congress worked out the details. In both cases, executive orders were not expected to outlast the administration that executed it, either due to superseding the congressional actions or by a new president with different interpretations. The fact is, administrations are lazy. When they can't be bothered to get congressional backing, or they just can't get it at all, presidents tend to order what they want and hope that the current Congress, Supreme Court, and the next president either agree or forget about it. Great perspective. Here we go. Jonathan from New Hampshire. I'm a conservative listener to your podcast. I hate executive orders. I view them as a terrible overreach of executive power and destructive to the checks and balances our founders created. I hated them when Bush was writing them, when Obama was writing them, and now when Trump is doing it. I hope the next 4, God, please don't let it be 8 years of the Trump presidency, creates an increasing in willingness on both sides to push back against an increasingly imperial style of presidency. On a side note, you referred to conservatives as the winning side when it comes to Trump as president. I don't view the conservative side as having won, maybe just a quibble, but I see Trump as distant from the traditionally conservative school of thought or ideology. He's a strong populist with a slightly conservative bent because of what he sells. All right, George Will. Jeez, come on, man. I'm just trying to do a podcast here. Thank you, Jonathan, for writing in. Hugh writes, I've listened to PX3 since day one and your other shows for a very long time indeed, but I've just removed Politicsx from my podcatcher. When you stated that people on the left complaining about executive orders sound an awful lot like the right 8 years ago, I lost my goddamn mind. I've seen nearly nobody complain about the concept of executive orders. I've seen so much actual resistance to fascism, racism, violence against women, homophobia, transphobia, white supremacy, and the list goes on. To compare the left's criticism to Trump's executive orders with the right's criticism of Obama's seems totally and utterly disingenuous to me because of the very clear delimiter between the two. The fact that Trump repeatedly shows himself to be a Nazi. That said, I'm European, and we probably have different understandings of human rights, compassion, respect of human lives, and other minimum viable presidential requirements. You do you, but I can't listen to your false equivalencies and Nazi apologizing anymore. Well, Hugh, if somebody tells you that I read your email, thank you very much for writing it. Let me just dive into one little thing here. The phrase disingenuous, because I don't think that I'm like disingenuous. I think is a loaded term because it assumes that there is a deliberate or a deliberate kind of a muddying of the waters, or there's a glibness. There's just a lot that comes along with that word. I have not meant to say that Obama's executive orders are the same as Trump's executive orders. It just seemed to me odd that so much of what I heard, especially in year one of Obama's presidency, when you paid attention to places like Breitbart, like Glenn Beck, just sound a lot like what is happening now. Not saying it's the same thing. I'm just saying I find it odd, right? It just is an interesting thing that I would like to note. Like, I'm never going to be the show that just gets up on a soapbox and starts yelling about things. Like, I'm sorry. I'm just not going to be that guy. I'm not that show. If you want that show, there's plenty of those shows. Plenty of them. In fact, they're all far popular than me. You'd be making the majority decision by listening to a show that gets up on a soapbox and stamps their feet and screams and yells. You know, vaya con Dios. But what I hope to do here is to bring you a show that you haven't listened to a million times. That doesn't necessarily agree with everything that you believe in. That's my goal. It's going to make me less popular than I could be. It's going to bring emails like this. But that's really what I want to do. So I appreciate your feedback. I always want negative stuff to come in because it keeps me in check. But thank you, Hugh, for writing in. And you're right. You're European, so you probably have a different understanding of human rights, compassion, respect of human lives, and other minimum viable presidential requirements. Also, where'd the Nazis come from? We're throwing that Nazi thing around. Where did the not? I mean, like, I don't know. Where are they from? Alabama? Are they Alabama Nazis? Where are they? Were they from? Seattle? Seattle Nazis? Is that where they came from? Oh, okay. Florida? Oh, was it in America? Oh, it wasn't America. Oh, okay. Funny. Oh, real Nazis, not the. Okay, cool. I'm just Joshua the Hugh. Joey, as a conservative who did not vote for Trump, I must say the Dippin' Dots are the worst. If you want true ice cream experience, you must have the Tillamook ice cream flavor, utterly chocolate. Tillamook ice cream is the best, and I'm not just saying that because I grew up in literal Tillamook. Joey Tillamook writing in. John writes, you asked for somebody from a conservative perspective to write in on their stance on executive orders, but before I get to that, I would like to say that I can totally relate to what you were saying about having deja vu from 8 years ago. Politically, things are very passionate now, but somehow I never cared less overall about politics. Yet somehow I'm writing into a political podcast, go figure. The fact that so much looks the same as it did 8 years ago, just with the players flipped, has shown just how much of a game politics is. Hypocrisy or straw man arguments are acceptable as long as it puts you ahead and the opposition cannot pin you down. See if this sounds familiar. We just elected a totally unqualified president with an agenda that's going to weaken our foreign reputation. He's going to suppress our rights, destroy health care, and front-load the Supreme Court for a generation. The people that have passionate beliefs are yet willing to listen and talk to the other side seems to be as rare as a unicorn these days. Everything in moderation, I guess. Folks, politics is a game. It's all about the game and how you play it. I don't know. I mean, I really don't know, where else to go with that. I guess we can probably just let you guys know that you can email the show, justinrobertyoung@gmail.com. Buy The Contender at thecontender.us. Music provided by Valesco and Trop Killers. Follow me at Justin R. Young everywhere. Download archived episodes of this show at bonerwars.com. Folks, remember, some shows talk about politics. Others talk about politics. Still others talk about politics. But this is the only show that talks about all three. I will see y'all next week.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.